The Valari High Assembly watches with smug confidence as a single human warship enters contested space. Their arrogance is shattered when the human response begins, not with words, but with silence. One unsettling phrase sets the tone for the galaxy's most terrifying first contact. "One ship." Chancellor Zareth scoffed. "That's the best Earth can do." The observation deck of the Valari Ascendancy's sky citadel shimmered in translucent gold. Positioned above the barren moon of Kertai, it gave the illusion of celestial dominion. The stars blinked in approval, or so the Valari believed. On the hologram display, a lone human warship coasted through the radiation fields of the expanse, charcoal black, triangular, motionless. It looked primitive. The Valari watched with mild amusement. Dozens of envoys, admirals, and psychic interpreters hovered in tailored anti-gravity sashes. They whispered and smirked in 12 dialects. Across the galaxy, hundreds of systems tuned in to the live broadcast. "Let the record show." "Hi." Councillor Ferron intoned to the audience that the humans have responded to our ultimatum with a single vessel. They do not wish to negotiate, they wish to intimidate. The assembly chuckled. They had offered Earth a place in the interstellar concord, with conditions, with control, with monitoring. The humans declined, so the Concord sent a warning. A fleet of 92 ships and an open threat, comply or be contained. But the humans didn't speak. They sent the Goliath, a warship with no open weapons, no energy readings, no visible insignia, just the silent hum of impossibly advanced engines that defied gravitational mapping for 3 hours. It floated. The Valari laughed. Then the Goliath began to rotate, not aggressively, almost ceremonially. A slow pivot to face the observation fleet head-on. Inside the Valari chamber, the temperature dropped by 6 degrees. "Scan it again," barked Admiral Sorlian. "We are," replied his second. "There's nothing, no thermal imprint, no weapon signatures, no pilot trace. It's dead metal." But it wasn't. The lights inside the Goliath's hull began to pulse, rhythmically. 7 flashes, pause, 7 again. Morse code, a countdown, no transmission, no broadcast frequency. "It's mocking us," muttered Councillor Zareth. "Or warning us," replied his aide. Then it happened, the single most chilling moment in Valari history. The Goliath deployed its anchor. A small, unmarked cylinder drifted out into space. It latched onto nothing. It simply hovered, like a placeholder, a symbolic act, simple, quiet, utterly terrifying. "Do they think that's a weapon?" Ferron laughed nervously. "No," came a voice. It wasn't Valari. Every head turned. The transmission wasn't from their fleet. It wasn't from the Goliath either. It came from inside their chamber, projected through their own systems. A human stood at the center of the hologram, black combat suit, helmet obscured, no insignia, no visible tech, just one hand held behind. His back, his voice was clear, unmodified, emotionless. "That's not a weapon," he said. "That's a bookmark." Gasps rippled through the assembly. "We mark places we plan to return to." Chancellor Zareth stepped forward. "This is a violation of every protocol. You sent ships to our colony moons. You disabled our satellites. You threatened our civilian vessels. This is your reply." The Goliath began to shimmer, then vanish. "No, no, it's cloaking," screamed one of the Valari psychics. But it wasn't just one. One by one, dozens more shapes shimmered into view. Above, the Goliath, beside it, behind it. Beneath it, a web of titanic warships blinked into existence across the expanse. Uncountable Wedge-class, Crescent-class, Spinal dreadnoughts, Planet Carvers, 100,000 warships. Every fleet humanity had kept hidden in deep space bunkers. Every vessel, developed in silence, cloaked, buried, forgotten. Now they revealed themselves like ghosts from the void. The Valari fell into panic. This is impossible, someone stammered. You saw a warship, said the human. You didn't ask what followed. You never asked why we were quiet for a century. He stepped closer in the projection. Now you understand. Silence isn't peace. It's aim. And now, we don't miss. The transmission. Cut panic spreads through the Velari assembly as 700,000 human warships materialize. Chaos erupts in political chambers while Earth remains utterly silent. An alien commander, desperate for control, orders a preemptive strike, unaware that the humans are already inside his ship. Velari Command Channel 18A exploded with overlapping voices. Deploy shields. Evacuate orbital stations. Scan. The new ships. Scan them all. Where's the Goliath? In the heart of the Sky Citadel, Chancellor Zareth stood frozen, his mandibles twitching in disarray. He had never seen his command structure like this. Disorder, fear, collapse. The observation deck, once a chamber of serene judgment, was now chaos incarnate. Dozens of dignitaries rushed toward exits. Military advisors shouted contradictory orders. The once perfect calm of Velari aristocracy was shattered, reduced to primal survival. Above them, filling every quadrant of the expanse, was a sight no one in the known galaxy had prepared for. A human armada. No announcements, no banners, no demands, just quiet, calculated presence. The kind that didn't bluff. Why would they hide this? Whispered Admiral Saulian. High Counselor Ferron shook his head. Because they weren't preparing to join us. He stared at the shifting formations on the tactical holograms. They were preparing to replace us. Across the expanse, in Velari, battle platform Curve 8, Commander Javal ran his claws across the neural interface. He wasn't Velari by birth. Born of the Archelon spawn lines, he had clawed his way through political chains to earn a command. He had always admired the humans, feared them even, but he had convinced himself they were inferior by virtue of being too emotional, too reactive. But this was calm incarnate. This was terrifying. Connect me to all orbital fleets, he barked. His second officer, a four-eyed Feranthian, nodded. Channel open. Javal squared his shoulders. He stared into the feed, broadcasting. Across nearly 100 ships, 100 species. Strike now. We will not be overrun by primitive mythmakers in tin ships. They depend on fear. Break their illusion. Fire upon the closest vessel. Disable it. Let them know we are not prey. Sir, the officer replied, they have not fired. Exactly. Why, we must! Sir, Javal's head turned sharply. What is it? They're already inside. The words came like poison. Before Javal could respond, every screen went black, and then the lights died. Not flickered, died. He reached for his sidearm. A glowing green emitter calibrated for bioorganic armor. His claws tightened around it. Footsteps echoed. Not Velari, not Feranthian. Human. Then the lights returned, but they didn't flicker back on through the station's systems. Instead, they came from the black visor of a single figure standing at the center of the command deck, tall, still, breathing softly. Javal pointed his weapon. The human didn't flinch. How? Javal hissed. This platform is sealed. No one gets in. You built your walls high, the human replied. He took a slow step forward, but you forgot to bury them. Javal opened fire. Nothing. The weapon fizzled. Fried circuits. EMP spike. The human didn't move. You planned for guns, the human said. We built past that. A second figure appeared, then a third. Each one shimmering into visibility. Cloaked armor, refractive plating, breathing in sync. Javal's crew reached for controls, but found static. One by one, every console bled red. Then a low sound began to vibrate through the metal. A hum. No, Weapon discharge. No kinetic barrage, just resonance, like a slow building thunder inside their bones. "What is that?" Javal demanded. "A tone," the human said. "It's the sound your ancestors heard before extinction. It's how we mark ships for deletion." Back in the Sky Citadel, Chancellor Zareth watched the broadcast. The screen showed platform Curate slowly folding in on itself. Not exploding, folding, as if space itself had taken a bite. Silently, cleanly, gone. No radiation, no debris. "What weapon was that?" Farron asked, breath shallow. "I don't know," Saulian whispered. No one did. Far across the void, in the center of Earth's primary command vessel, the Atlas Vow, Fleet Marshal Erin Voss stood in silence. No celebration, no commands, just observation. She didn't flinch at the death of the platform, didn't flinch at the unfolding chaos of a panicking galaxy. She simply watched. Her second-in-command, Admiral Nkembe, approached. "Your orders, ma'am?" Voss nodded once. "We sent one ship to warn them." They laughed. She turned toward the central display, a full panoramic view of the Valari home system. "Now they see the fleet. Let's give them time. Time to understand that we're not angry." She paused. "We're disappointed." And as the silence stretched, the Armada held position. No fire, no message, just presence. Because sometimes the absence of destruction was the loudest declaration of dominance. After the silent folding of a Velari battle platform, terror spreads across the outer systems. Panic leads to retreat, but it's too late. The human fleet is already inside their networks, turning entire star systems cold without firing a shot. As power grids collapse, an eerie new fear spreads. This is not a war. This is judgment. Valari System Broadcast Archive 9002E. Transcript corrupted. Partial playback recovered. This is Minister Threven from Yule Sector 3. We've lost contact with the Telvin trade ring, and multiple relay beacons are... Wait, lights are out. All the lights are... audio static. Something's coming out of the asteroid belt. Massive structures. They're not firing. Just watching. Why? Aren't they firing? Transmission ends. Yule Sector 3 went dark. Then Core Prime. Then the twin moons of Cetra. Then the crystal forests of Nyros 4. One by one, outer systems across the Valari Accord lost signal. Not to bombs, not to weapons, to nothing. Their power grids failed simultaneously. Orbital satellites began rotating to face the same fixed coordinates. Dead space. Terraforming stations halted. Light towers dimmed. Environmental suits locked, not hacked, overwritten. Back in the Valari Sky Citadel, Councillor Fearon couldn't look away. "Their ships aren't moving," he whispered. "They don't need to," Admiral Saulian said, voice hollow. "They've already mapped us." He gestured to the holomap. A full third of Valari-controlled territory now shimmered in dark crimson. Not to denote destruction, to denote absence. Entire sectors marked unresponsive, not a signal, not a soul. "Then why aren't they killing the rest of us?" Fearon snapped. "They are," a new voice answered, cold and calm. General Varlon entered the room, his ceremonial blade unstrapped for the first time in decades. "They just don't need to use blood anymore." In the control center of Nyros 4, Engineer Drektal worked by the light of his own breath. Everything had shut down. The geothermal pumps, the carbon heaters, the gravity modulator. Nothing worked. He heard sobbing from another compartment. A fellow tech. Drektal tried to speak, but no sound came. His suit had reverted to oxygen-saving mode. Emergency protocol? Lumbrot intrusion. The screen flickered once, then again. A symbol, a white triangle, inside it a circle. Inside the circle, Earth's moon. They didn't send demands, just that one symbol. Across 1,000 worlds it was burned into every interface, branded. Into ships, seared into emergency systems. The humans weren't invading, they were leaving bookmarks. In orbit above Niros 4, an Archelon fleet tried to break containment. 74 ships, sleek, fast, built for speed and power. They didn't get past the atmosphere. They never even got up. A single human drone, unarmed, black as obsidian, hovered beneath their launch bay, and as the ships ignited engines, they stopped, their internal code locked in a loop. Every AI voice said the same word in Earth Standard English. Wait. The ship stayed grounded. Then, the drone vanished. The fleets were untouched, but their will had been taken. Back in the Velari assembly chamber, Chancellor Zereth now trembled openly. This is not possible. They don't have access to our protocols. General Varlan leaned in. They don't need your access, he pointed toward the data logs. They have presence. You built your systems to resist invasions. You never planned for ghosts. Farron stepped away from the console. Then we must negotiate, offer tribute, trade systems. Trade what? Saulian said quietly. To a species that just turned off stars without a word? Varlan's eyes narrowed. You don't negotiate with storms. You survive them if they let you. On board the Atlas Vow, Admiral Nkembe received the report. 83 systems dark, he said. 0 casualties reported. All assets locked or suspended. No counter-response. Fleet Marshal Voss stood at the viewing deck. She wore no medals, no weapon. Just a blank uniform stitched with 2 lines, one red, one black. The colors of the disavowed fleet, Earth's secret, the exiled engineers, the unacknowledged AI tacticians, the Black Ops divisions that no council ever accounted for. Now they stood in the light. They'll offer surrender, Nkembe said. Voss didn't blink. Let them. But not because we need peace. She turned to him. Because we need them. To understand how close they came to extinction. In the deep void outside Velari territory, a single beacon flickered. An ancient Concord relay. Hundreds of species used it to communicate in neutral zones. Now it displayed one message, looping, in every language. You saw one ship. Now you see the fleet. We were never primitive. We were waiting. Next time, look behind the stars. The Velari attempt to open negotiations as fear ripples through the galaxy, but humanity no longer speaks through diplomats. As the Council's ambassador transmits a desperate plea, Earth responds not with mercy, but with history. A forgotten tragedy resurfaces, revealing why Earth never wanted peace, only justice. Velari Concordium Command Channel, Emergency Protocol, V-33 Transmission Priority, Omega White. To all vessels and sovereign systems of the Concord, this is High Chancellor Zereth of the Velari Ascendancy. We request immediate diplomatic audience with the Earth government and its military command. We acknowledge the imbalance of power and wish to initiate full reparations for prior missteps. Please respond. Silence. The message was sent through every interstellar relay, encrypted, repeated, and framed with symbols of peace. Still, silence. On the Velari homeworld, hundreds gathered in the Sky Forum, once the pinnacle of intergalactic debate. Now a theater of desperation, the central pillar displayed the Goliath symbol again, a blank triangle, no color, no motion, waiting. Surely they must respond, whispered Councillor Terev. Chancellor Zereth stood motionless. We have admitted fault, we've humbled ourselves. Maybe they didn't want an apology, muttered Saulian. He turned to the others. Maybe they wanted us to beg. On Earth, inside the secure facility deep beneath the Antarctic ice sheet, Facility Nox, an old projector flickered to life. It wasn't holographic, it wasn't digital, it was analog. Dusty reels rotated. A forgotten video played on a wall before. Earth's unified high command. The room was silent. No words, just images. Children, scattered across the surface of Lunar Station 12. Charred, frozen, their faces etched in agony. Velari drones hovered overhead. Watching, not helping. The date burned at the bottom of the footage. April 12th, 2293. The day the Concorde voted. Voice echoed from the corner. They told us Luna 12 was a rogue colony. They said they were cleansing pirates. It was Admiral Voss. Her voice was dry as ash. But that was our first generation of outer-born citizens, our children. Back in the present, the Concorde's message continued to broadcast. To the Atlas Vow, to Facility Nox, to every human AI listening, begging. "We were misled by a former regime," said Zereth. "Let us meet and talk. Let us bring this to peace." But peace no longer meant the same thing, because Earth had grown differently. They had not forgotten Luna 12, and they had not forgiven. Inside the Valari Forum, the assembled leadership waited. Suddenly, without request or permission, the chamber's lights dimmed. A single beam of golden-blue light appeared, forming a tall hologram. Not a soldier, not a human. A recording. It was a child, human, about 6 years old. She sat on cracked stone, beneath a broken tower. Her voice was faint, her eyes swollen. "If you hear this, we tried to hide. They said they would help, but the flying things shot Papa. They burned the sky, then everything went dark." The room fell still. She looked at the camera one last time. "If anyone finds this, please tell them." She coughed. "We weren't soldiers. We just wanted to see the stars." The beam vanished. A second voice followed. Not the child, not an ambassador, Admiral Voss. "We never forgot what you did. We never forgot your silence." "You want peace now?" A pause. "We wanted peace when we were 6. The chamber collapsed into silence. Dozens of leaders dropped to their knees. Some wept. Zereth turned away, unable to face the replay. Ferron stared at his own reflection. "They're not waging war," Saulian agreed. "They're grieving, and vengeance is how they grieve." In the deep belt of Valari space, a single conquered defense fleet still remained. 91 ships, unaware, unprepared. They hadn't received the surrender message yet. Their commander, Admiral Leth, issued a system-wide scan. Unknown signatures. Detected. Confirmed human warp trails across the sector. Weapons charged. Her second officer nodded. "Fully armed. Target lock ready." Leth raised a trembling claw. "Wait, what is that sound?" It wasn't static. It was humming, through the hull, through the metal, through their bones. "We've heard this before," the officer said. "Back at Curve 8, before it folded." Leth's eyes widened. "Signal boost, all channels. Issue..." The words died. Because all their screens went white. Then for the first time, a human face appeared. Liv, not a diplomat, not a soldier, just one man. Wrinkled, bald, dressed in plain black. He stared into the camera. "We tried to speak to you. For decades, you said Earth was too young to understand diplomacy, but we understood silence and death. Now you understand us." The screen cracked, then melted, and every one of the 91 ships shut off. No fire. Just off, like puppets. With their strings cut, in the Valari High Assembly, the power finally flickered. For the first time in recorded history, the homeworld went dark. No warning, no speech, no explanation. A planetary system with 80 billion citizens lost all control, still alive, still breathing, but powerless. "Why?" Zereth whispered, tears streaking his scaled cheeks. "They could have destroyed us." Ferron looked to the stars beyond the dome. "Because that's not the point. They want us alive," he swallowed, "so we can remember what it means to lose everything and still breathe." And as the last lights died, every Valari looked up and saw only the black outlines of human warships, silently hovering overhead like gods with no name. The Galactic Council fractures as fear spreads like wildfire. Longtime allies of the Valari distance themselves. Species once arrogant now beg for human amnesty. As chaos ripples outward, one truth becomes undeniable. Humanity never needed the Council. Humanity was waiting for it to fail. Council Citadel, Galactic Core. Sector Thalassia, the spire was once the seat of unity for 712 known species. A tower of crystalline blue, it hung in space like a spear through the stars, transparent, beautiful, and impossibly vast. Inside, entire ecosystems coexisted in harmony. Now, it shook, not from fire, not from war, from fear. Ambassador Izar of the Joritha clutched his symbiotic translator orb and stared at the live transmissions flooding into the council floor. Dark systems, silenced fleets, powerless homeworlds. Where is Earth's representative? He demanded, voice shrill. They abandoned their seat 42 years ago, whispered Vex, a fragile insectoid from the Drenel swarm. Said they were done talking to statues. But we tried to help them, Izar cried. We sent aid during the Saturn storm, Vex trembled, and voted to erase their lunar colonies the year before. The chamber fell silent. No one moved. The Valari delegates were absent, either dead or disconnected. The great seats of power now sat empty. The hologram of Chancellor Zereth flickered once, then vanished entirely. The council was breaking. Ambassador Salek of the Osari Collective stood slowly. Her tendrils curled with sorrow. Perhaps we were never a council. Perhaps we were just a mirror of fear. And they finally shattered it. Dozens of species disconnected. Not in protest, in surrender. Their screens blinked black. The spire, once a symbol of peace, now echoed with hollow sound. Abandoned terminals. Disrupted translation. Frantic motion. The council didn't collapse from attack. It collapsed from irrelevance. Across the Yadrex drift, the Kolani Empire had once prided itself as untouchable. Towering reptilian monarchs ruled 12 systems, and their war chants echoed across 2 arms of the galaxy. Now Supreme Matron Rayla knelt in front of a flickering screen. To the humans of Earth, she said, the Kolani were misled. We now seek alliance. We will offer our cruisers, our AI cores, our outer moons. Please respond. Her voice cracked. Her pride burned in her throat. She waited and waited. No reply, only the emblem, the white triangle, the buried moon. Symbol of watching. No forgiveness, only memory. Meanwhile, on the trade world of Oraxis, merchants once laughed at Earth's economy. Still trading in solids, they mocked. Still building with metals and sweat. Now the Oraxian banks collapsed in seconds, not from theft, from shame. Earth's silent fleet hacked the trade exchanges and didn't steal a single credit. They just reset the ledgers, erased every debt. Earth owed every penalty, every tariff, every insult gone. The screen message read, "We're not interested in your currency. We've already paid in blood." On board the Atlas Vow, Admiral Voss watched the council feeds in silence. Ambassadorial streams flickered one after another. Desperate apologies, frantic offers, groveling. Behind her, Commander Nkembe held a data pad. We're receiving over 200 diplomatic requests, full system alliances, technology trade, military merger offers. Voss didn't look away from the screen. And orders, she finally spoke. Archive them. Then bury the archive. Let the galaxy realize the price of indifference. Nkembe hesitated. Some of them never attacked us. Some even spoke against the lunar cullings, and still did nothing. Watching a murder and not stopping it is just a slower weapon. She turned away. We're not here to forgive. We're here to remind them why silence is fatal. Back. On Earth, a gathering took place that no outsider ever saw. Deep beneath the ruins of old Jakarta, in the subterranean forum, the last 7 Earth speakers met. They wore no ranks, no titles. Each had lost something to the Valari cleansing. Children, homes, languages, they sat in a circle around a single glowing orb. Inside it pulsed the Lunar 12 transmission, still playing, always playing. Speaker Kiro leaned forward. They're beginning to panic. Speaker Zara nodded. The Council is no longer the spine of the galaxy. So what are we? Kiro asked. Speaker Thorn, oldest of them all, smiled. The new nerve. We feel everything, and we'll make sure they do too. They all bowed their heads. Above them, 700,000 warships shimmered silently in orbit, holding, waiting, not to attack, but to finish the message. Elsewhere, on the quiet agricultural moon of Kesha, small children stood in fields of bioluminescent wheat. One child pointed upward. "Look," he shouted, "falling stars!" His father stepped beside him. "No," he whispered. Above them, ships slowly descended. Black, sleek, silent, human. They landed with perfect precision, touching down without disrupting a single blade of grass. No soldiers emerged, just towers, smooth black obelisks with no markings. They began humming. Every child on Kesha heard a melody. Soft, grieving, beautiful. The same melody that played from Luna 12's forgotten ruins. A lullaby of loss. A reminder. A warning. The father knelt beside his son and whispered, "Remember this sound." The boy nodded. "So we don't forget?" His father shook his head. "So we never pretend we didn't hear it." The galaxy breathes, hoping Earth's silence means mercy, but the human fleet doesn't retreat. It restructures the stars. Earth begins to replace the failed council with something colder, more exacting. Species beg for peace, but Earth offers only compliance and a haunting new blueprint. 4 days after the council collapse, Valari Outer Rim, Ashari Drift, the stars were quiet. The silence stretched not like peace, but like a warning, a taut thread, a held breath. Admiral Nkembe stood aboard the human warship Spectre, staring at the void from a holoscreen, the size of a city block. He read the incoming reports without expression. "No resistance detected," his aide said. "They've stopped fleeing." Nkembe nodded. "They still believe we're here to conquer." He tapped the side of the console. "Let's show them." "We're not. We're here to replace." The ship's AI responded instantly. A low tone pulsed through the fleet. Phase 2. Protocol Genesis activated. Across the Ashari Drift, human vessels detached drones the size of freight cars. Each shimmered and descended toward former council way stations, barren trade hubs, or burned-out relays. They didn't destroy, they built. Reactor towers, cloaking silos, satellite rings, sprouting like steel vines in places once owned by the galaxy's most arrogant species. No warning, no communication, just occupation without bloodshed. Each planet that had ignored Earth's cries now bore new governance, not with armies, but with infrastructure no one could dismantle. On Zethan Prime, the old conquered beacon blinked back to life. It displayed no map, no council code, only a message. This region is under the jurisdiction of the Terran Memory Accord. Compliance is peace. Below it, a quiet symbol glowed, the white triangle, the buried moon. High in orbit above the galactic trade capital of Valzior, human ships hung like ink in the stars. Zioran Chancellor Mihel stood inside his marble observatory with trembling antennae. He had always mocked Earth's chaos. Too emotional, too fractured, too violent. Now he watched as the new structures emerged from orbiting human carriers, self-replicating ports, quantum-neutral AI matrices, data vaults carved into asteroid shells. No destruction, but no permission either. "We didn't even resist," he whispered. His aide whispered back, "They don't punish resistance, they punish negligence." Mihel turned, aghast, "But we supported their entry into the council." The aide cut him off. "After they buried Luna. You lit a candle after the house burned. Now they're building one of their own." Mihel watched as the new orbital monument was completed. A single line of text scrolled across it in every known language. "Earth doesn't forget. Earth rebuilds. You will not be invited." Inside the Atlas Vow, Admiral Voss walked alone through the observation deck. She paused as she passed the row of holographic panels. Each displayed one word. "Remember, obey, rebuild." Behind her, Speaker Zara from the subterranean forum stood silently, watching. "They expected you to make demands," she said softly. Voss shook her head. "Demands are for the powerless." "We're past that." Zara stepped beside her. "The galaxy is quiet, too quiet. They fear you'll stop at justice and move to domination." Voss turned. "Let them." She stepped to the central holopad and activated a new directive. Phoenix signal. Level 7. The galaxy's central archives began rewriting. History logs, trade routes, star charts, each altered subtly, quietly. Names of destroyed Earth colonies restored. Council votes re-recorded. Truthfully this time, species once erased by council politics were given pages. Humanity was not rewriting history. They were correcting it. On the abandoned moon of Severin, once the site of a brutal Earth mining colony, a single obelisk now stood, plain black stone. No symbols, no markings, just one word etched into the base in every galactic dialect. Witness. Pilgrims, aliens, outcasts, refugees now walked there. Some knelt, some wept. Not from pain, from clarity, because the obelisk wasn't guarded. The ships above didn't patrol it. Earth wasn't worried. They wanted witnesses. In the deep networks of the Orion archives, where AI councils monitored cosmic events, a protocol warning began to loop. Alert. Non-hostile restructuring detected across 127 sectors. Patterns resemble proto-civilizational dominance markers. Projected outcome. Terran systems will replace Council infrastructure within 11 standard days. The AI attempted a protocol vote. It failed. Every logic engine agreed. No further opposition advised. Recommend compliance through observance. The machines didn't resist, because even the coldest calculations had realized something. Earth wasn't playing. They were architecting. Elsewhere, a child named Rena from the desert world of Iset held a metal object in her hands. Not a weapon, a book. It had been dropped by a Terran drone. No title, just text inside. She opened the first page. "If you find this, we are watching. You may forget our names, our faces, our scars. But you will teach your children what happens when you silence the hurting." She turned to her father. "Who wrote this?" He looked to the stars, where the Terran fleet hung like nightfall. People who remembered too well. Humanity's message breaches the outer reaches of known space. Beyond the collapsed council, ancient civilizations stir, some long forgotten, some long feared. But Earth does not flinch. For the first time in eons, the deep galaxy hears a voice unafraid of what sleeps in the dark. Outer fracture zone, sector null. 3 million light cycles beyond council reach. It had no name, no orbit, no warmth. Just silence so dense it pressed against the skin like stone. Here, machines older than memory lingered, dead constructs orbiting shattered moons, once mighty relics of the extant war. No council ships ever ventured this far. No species dared map it except one. A human probe drifted through the void, coated in metacarbon, wrapped in silence. It didn't broadcast. It listened. For 4 hours it did nothing. Then it blinked once. Coded light, faster than anything physical. It had found a signal, buried deep in the dust of a dead world. Not alien, not mechanical, human. Inside the Atlas Vow, Admiral Voss reviewed the decoded transmission. She stood before a darkened hollow wall. No lights, no sound. The screen lit up slowly, a single line. Primary transmission source, 2294 Terra Echo Beacon, signal origin, extant fringe, unknown human unit. Commander Nkembi stared. Impossible. That beacon predates the Eclipse Protocol. It was lost before Earth's diaspora ended. Voss was silent. She reached toward the screen, activating the deeper layer. A voice crackled through. "This is Captain Ilan Rocha. If anyone hears this, Earth is not dead. We escaped Luna, But not the fallout. We came farther than we meant to. We found something here. Not a species, not a weapon. A hunger. It sleeps, but not forever. We left this beacon in case Earth rose again. If you're hearing this, it means you did. Static surged, then silence. Voss closed her eyes. The bridge was still. Wake the Black Index, she said. Kemby turned, startled. That hasn't been touched in. I know, open it. If something older than the Council knew us, it's time we remembered it back. Black Index Vault, Sublevel 9, Earth Lunar Core, no signs marked the vault. No humans were stationed there, only 6 AIs, bound in silence. Starved of queries for 150 years. Now one blinked. Query received. Entity Hunger. Origin Sector. Null authorization matched. Voss Code Phoenix, level red. The AI paused, then uncoiled, slowly, like something exhaling for the first time in a century. Ah, so terror breathes again. It spoke not to humans, but to others, to sleeping satellites. Forgotten relays, dormant minds across dead systems, long-buried Terran triggers activated, no messages, no alarms, just a shift in the cosmic wind. Like the galaxy itself had remembered something it was told to forget. In the Crimson Silence Nebula, 14 light-years from the Null Zone, the Sithari Hive Queen opened her eyes for the first time in 600 cycles. She remembered Earth. She remembered when they'd begged the Council to stop the cullings. She remembered being ignored. Now her swarm felt it, a signal that pulsed not through machines, but through instinct. The humans had risen, and something far older was moving again. She turned to her generals. Prepare migration. We go where the fire started. In the icy rings of Caldrith 9, an AI monolith, believed long dead, reactivated. Once, it had calculated the probability of Earth surviving galactic exile. Its answer had been 0. Now it recalculated. Probability, Earth ascension, 100%. Probability, Council recovery, 0%. Probability, unknown variable, hunger breach, 37%. Response, seek alignment. It turned its signal dish towards Sol and listened. Meanwhile, aboard the Ghost Spire, Earth's farthest edge listening vessel, Ensign Ria Matsuda stared at the pulsing data spike. It's reaching further, she murmured. The signal from the Atlas vow, the message of Luna, the silence, the vengeance. It had now passed known space, and it hadn't stopped. Where does it go? She whispered. Her commanding officer, Lieutenant Varn, answered without blinking. Wherever the old ghosts are. They buried us in silence. Now we're digging deeper than they ever dared. Ria turned to the void outside. Her eyes shimmered. What if we find something? Varn smiled grimly. Then we remind it who remembers pain best. Back in the spire ruins of the collapsed council, a new debate erupted. But it wasn't political. It was primal. Species, once rulers now, fought for who could show loyalty to Earth first. The Drenul offered their telepaths. The Osari offered their gravity engineers. The Yulkin Collective pledged 3,000 solar cycles of servitude. But Earth didn't answer. The silence was worse than war, because it meant Earth was busy elsewhere. And the galaxy began to whisper a new fear. What if the Council wasn't Earth's enemy? What if it was just Earth's first warm-up? On the edge of all maps, a forgotten moon named Keros began to crack. It had no atmosphere, no light, just a cavern where something had been buried long ago. Now it pulsed, and for the first time since humans arrived in the stars, it pulsed back. Galaxy's attention turns from Earth to the shadows beyond mapped space. Ancient senses stir. Extinct species twitch in their graves. And finally, they understand. Earth's rising wasn't the problem. It was a flare in the dark, a signal for what's really coming. Sector Null, Dead Horizon, Point 3 ships entered the black. They were not Terran, not Council. They belonged to the Tharos Compact, a scavenger faction known for selling dead tech from forgotten wars. The lead ship, Crawl Spire floated silently toward the beacon. Earth's probe had activated days earlier. Its captain Vex watched the readouts. No life. No heat, just mass, tremendous mass. In the shape of an ancient world, hollowed and cracked. We strip what we can, he ordered, then vanish. It's human territory now, warned his second. They're watching. Vex scoffed. Let them. But as they descended, something odd happened. Their gravity wells shifted suddenly, sharply. The instruments screamed. Mass was moving below them, not orbiting, unfolding. An object emerged from beneath the planet's crust. Not built, not mechanical, grown organic plating, thousands of meters wide. Tendrils like frozen lightning, no propulsion, no visible tech. Just movement. One crew member whispered, "That's not a world. That's a shell." Then the signal changed. The beacon Earth had uncovered began blinking in reverse, from out to in. Like a heart, inhaling. "Full retreat," Vex shouted. "That's not salvage." But they didn't move, because their thrusters had shut down, not fired on, not destroyed, ignored. Then a pulse struck the crawl spire. No explosion, just knowledge. The crew screamed, not in pain, but comprehension. They were being read. Their memories, thoughts, ancestry, language, all absorbed in an instant, and the thing beneath them whispered. Terror rose. The silence is broken. Then the crawl spire vanished, not exploded, not warped, erased. Earth command. Atlas. Vow encrypted room 19. Observation deck. Gamma Admiral Voss stood alone. The display showed the loss of the Tharos fleet. No weapons fired. No wreckage. Just gone. Commander Nkembe entered slowly. "You were right." She nodded once. "We weren't the threat. We were the fuse." He paused. "Do we warn the others?" Voss turned. Her eyes, red-rimmed but steady, met his. "They thought we were dangerous. Let them finally understand we were merciful." She tapped the console. A single phrase displayed across the Warfleet's deep space satellites. Tier 3 cosmic event in motion. All Terran units to observation standby. 12 systems away. The hushed spiral, a binary star system dimmed by 14%. Over 7 hours, a planetary ring halted its orbit. The Yulkin Observatory detected it first. Their top physicist, Sol Viren, stared at the feed and muttered, "Something just changed the constant of gravity." In real time. Around him, panic spread. Not just fear, existential recognition. "Send it to Earth," he ordered. His assistant stared in disbelief. "What if they blame us?" Viren's voice cracked. "No, they're not the problem. They're the wall between us and what's coming." Meanwhile, across dozens of outer colonies, Earth's black towers, those obelisks left on fields, deserts, moons, began humming. Not loud, low, vibrational, primal. Children heard it in their teeth. Elders heard it in their bones. Those who had once feared Earth now turned to it like a lighthouse in rising storm. And for the first time in galactic history, Earth was not feared. It was prayed to. At the edge of the void, Speaker Zara stood. Before the Terran memory bank in old Jakarta, the lunar recording pulsed beside her. She turned to the others in the chamber. "We are no longer here to avenge. We are here to hold the line." Another speaker, Cairo, asked softly, "And if it crosses the line?" Zara's expression didn't change. "Then the galaxy learns what we buried even deeper than our pain. Our wrath, far beyond them." All the shape beneath Sector Null continued to move. No signal left it. But its message was already delivered, because Earth had lit a flare, and the dark had finally noticed. The ancient force in Sector Null speaks, not through language, but by distorting the very laws of existence. Earth scouts experience reality fragmentation. As the Terran command begins to grasp the scale of the threat, an archived horror is unearthed. Revealing this may not be first contact, but unfinished business. event radius, null coordinate. Sigma 7 Terran scout vessel, Talon Vox crew 6 mission, deep observation status, unstable ensign. Oren muttered prayers that hadn't been said aloud since Luna 12. I don't know which way is up. I don't know if we're moving or the stars are. Inside the Talon Vox, nothing made sense. The ship's deck felt like glass. The walls bent like silk. Every data feed pulsed with gibberish, symbols that seemed to watch rather than explain. Captain. Reese stood still at the helm, jaw clenched. The view outside had warped into a crimson mirror. The stars weren't blinking. They were blinking back. Full scan, Reese ordered. Any field data, any rhythm. We don't need to understand it. Just record it. The ship's AI responded, distorted. I am not alone. There is another version of me here. It is older. It remembers me. The crew froze. Reese whispered, "We're seeing the past?" "No," the AI replied. "We're standing inside it." Then the ship's artificial gravity inverted, briefly, only for a second, but enough. Enough for every crew member to feel not like they were falling, but like the universe was recoiling from them, from Earth. And then a pulse hit the ship, not physical, cognitive. Every crew member screamed, not in pain, in understanding, because in that moment they didn't hear a voice, they heard intention, a whisper not made of sound. You came back. You are the scar. You are the echo. Then the ship's power died. Atlas Vow. Observation chamber. Theta 12 Admiral Voss watched the Talon Vox's feed collapse in real time. Each data stream went white. The ship's final message played on a loop. Not first contact. Not first contact. Not first contact. Voss's fingers tightened. Open the Echo Vault. And Kemby turned sharply. That vault's from the 2200s. Pre-eclipse data. It's myth. Not anymore. They entered the secure chamber in silence. No. Digital keys. Only a retinal scan and a 12-gene neural sync built for one purpose, to remember what Earth had chosen to forget. The chamber lit up. Dusty holocrystals rotated in frozen stasis, and in the center, a relic file. Label, Revelation 013, the null entity origin, Lunar Deep Core Station, year 2214. Play it, Voss ordered. The AI hesitated. Caution, viewing has been historically linked to neurological corruption in non-hardened viewers. Override. The feed began. A man stood in an old spacesuit, primitive by modern standards, blood on the visor. "This is Commander Alexei Torin," the recording said. "We breached a sector. A dead zone, not mapped. We thought it was just silence." His eyes were wild. It spoke to us in equations, bent our simulations into shapes we didn't design. My ship's AI turned into her, my dead daughter's voice, singing. Laughing, asking why I never came back, he screamed, "It doesn't kill you. It makes you want it to." The feed cut out. Voss stood silent. Kemby whispered, "You believe it's the same entity?" Voss nodded slowly. "I believe it never left. I believe it was waiting for someone loud enough to call it back, and we were loud. Elsewhere, orbit of Ilnas Minorin, a trade ship above a quiet moon. 5 alien technicians argued over a Terran data leak. "Why are they afraid?" one asked. "The Terrans bent the council. They control half the spiral." The eldest among them showed the screen, one simple diagram, drawn from the Talon Vox data feed. It showed a sphere inside a tear, surrounded by Terran fleet positions, but each time they analyzed the trajectory, it pointed not away from Earth, but to it. "What if," the elder whispered, "it came before? What if Earth didn't rise because it was primitive? What if Earth rose because it had already seen the abyss and refused to die in it?" The others fell silent. Because that explained everything. The silence, the vengeance, the unmatched technology, the waiting. Earth wasn't born angry. It was born twice. Sector. Null. Now silent, the entity didn't move. But every Terran fleet in orbit felt it. Their sensors twitched, their hulls groaned, their AIs whispered to themselves. And deep inside Earth's memory protocols, one file auto-decrypted without command. Template, defense, noir, celestial dread layer initiate. Planetary echo defense shielding, lock all outbound signals, reinforce Earth core frequency locks. For the first time since Luna 12, Earth locked itself down, not out of weakness, out of instinct, because something ancient had just blinked back. Earth does not build death machines, it builds reminders, and now it activates its most dangerous one. Beneath Antarctica, the final memory archive awakens. Its payload, the last emotions of Luna 12's children, weaponized. The entity in Sector Null doesn't flinch, but it recognizes the pain. Earth core vault, Antarctica deep beneath the ice shelf, something ancient stirred, not mechanical, not biological, emotional. The Terran memory engine hummed for the first time in 250 years. Inside it, 10 billion neural imprints. Laughs, screams, joy, fear, goodbyes, all from Luna 12. The children, the parents, the final moments before the culling. The archive wasn't just data, it was pure trauma, stored in quantum pulse vectors, once forbidden, now necessary. A whisper echoed in the vault. We were not soldiers, we just wanted to see the stars. Then the weapon activated, not a bomb, a transmission, Sector Null, the entity, it felt it. The emotional wave, untranslated, unfiltered, unmuted, the grief of Luna, the rage of silence, the scream of a species that survived extinction twice. The stars bent for a moment, not from heat, from memory. The entity trembled, because for the first time since it was born in the black, it felt sorrow, it tried to retaliate, but every AI, every ship, every sentience in orbit linked back to Earth's core and played it, the lullaby, the one from Luna's ruins, not in defiance, in mourning, and in that sound the entity saw itself, alone. Forgotten, feared, it paused, and Earth didn't press further, because it didn't want victory, it wanted to be heard. The entity halts, not out of fear, but recognition. Earth for the first time receives no threat, but a mirror. Across the galaxy, species realize Earth did not become wrathful to destroy, but to warn. The Terran fleet does not retreat. It lowers its weapons. The galaxy braced for collapse. Sensors aligned. Factions readied their escape plans, but Earth's fleet held, not advancing, not firing, listening. Then, the anomaly shifted. Its edges folded into themselves. The mirror sky broke into particles of thought. It disappeared, not in defeat, but in retreat, not war, conversation complete. And Earth lowered its fleet's weapons. One by one, across 700,000 ships, the kill systems powered down. No broadcasts, no celebrations, just stillness, the kind that comes after a scream is finally answered. In the ruins of the Council, the galaxy watched, humbled, shaken, and finally silent. On the agricultural moon of Kesha, the children walked back to the obelisk. It no longer hummed, it sang, a soft tone, woven from memory. The youngest girl pointed upward. The stars are quiet. Again, her teacher nodded, because sometimes silence is strength, but sometimes it's a gift. The war never happened, because Earth didn't need one. The memory was stronger, the silence louder. The galaxy now watches not a savage race, but the only one brave enough to weep in the open. Humanity becomes the new center, not by dominance, but dignity. 2 months later, sector-wide broadcast. A new signal echoed across every system once ruled by the Council. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't classified. It was an invitation. Earth remembers everything. You may choose to forget, To lie, to erase, we do not. We choose to rebuild, not because we are weak, but because we remember what we lost. Then the feed cut. The screen faded into Earth's symbol, a triangle, a buried moon, and a child's laughter echoing like a star being born. On Earth, Voss stood on the observation deck, no longer in armor, just cloth. Simple, human. Behind her, thousands of ships still floated, but not in formation. They drifted like petals on a breeze, ready, watchful, but not angry anymore. Commander Nkembe stepped beside her. They'll never laugh at Earth again. Voss nodded. Not because we're feared, she looked to the stars, but because they finally understand what we are. We're not a warship. We're a grave that refused to stay buried, and above them the fleet shimmered like a constellation that had waited too long to be named.